Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Energy Trends podcast from GridBeyond. I'm Alden Phinney, your host, Vice President of Business Development for the front of the meter services here at GridBeyond North America. And I'm so excited today to welcome Pedro Robredo, Senior Vice President of the Americas for the Electrification Service at ABB. ABB Electrification has over 50,000 employees across 100 countries worldwide. ABB is also a strategic partner of GridBeyond and our best as a service offering. And we're really excited to talk today about evolving service models, evolving assets that can help CNI customers, and everything going on in data centers, load growth, and beyond. So, Pedro, thanks so much for being on and excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Glad to be here. I love our partnership with GridBeyond, and so I'm looking forward to talking about what's happening in service and what's happening in battery storage and GridBeyond.
Great. We are too. And, maybe just to get started so that folks know you a little better, how did you get involved in the electrification space?
It's very interesting because when I look back at my career, I've been in electrification my whole career, and it was not intended. I'm an electrical engineer, of course, but I started with I've been in different multinationals, Toshiba, Eaton, Schneider Electric, now with ABB. But when I look, I have always been in the electrical products, electrical infrastructure. I've been in the hardware part of things. Now I'm in the service part of things, which is great because I understand the hardware and I understand the complementarity and how all that goes together. And I gotta tell you, it's exciting. Electrification, probably 25 years ago, 30 years ago, it was a part of the equation of facilities and all that. But with the tremendous growth of the need for more and more power, the shift to electrification has created a boom, and it's a boom for the whole industry. So all of us that are veterans are seeing it, and it's very exciting because we've seen it is happening, and now we're in the middle of it. And so yeah, I didn't know it at the time, but I chose a super exciting, meaningful, and impactful industry.
Definitely. And I'm sure the impact just continues to grow as we look at electrification's role in decarbonization of many
Right.
industries worldwide. Um, and so you mentioned, you were originally looking at hardware. Now you're looking at services. How do you find that the evolving technology is transforming traditional service models, specifically for energy and electrification?
No, no, it's super interesting because two things are happening in general. One is the Internet of Things. So you have all these assets that have, whether they have internal sensors or external sensors, you are able to now get the data and process it at the edge, process it that right there, or process it in the cloud, or a combination of both. And by having data and being able to process, then you are able to understand things that you didn't understand before. So the asset was just passively there, and you have a schedule for maintenance, or you knew certain things to look out to check how they were. But now you are able to really get insights into what's going on. So that's the first thing where technology is enabling a new type of service. The other is, of course, AI. If you think about using data to look at conditions and to predict things and be able to service things, whereas, well, AI is taking it to a completely different level. We with algorithms and with prediction, with the data, we could kind of have good predictions and based on kind of historical or based on formulas. And but with AI we are able to see patterns that are not easy to get, that we could spend years trying to find with the traditional tools. And with AI suddenly we get these patterns where we can predict things that we couldn't before. And the next step of AI then starts to take it into even more amazing parts, which would be AI that makes decisions in real time and starts to adapt things. So it's super exciting. So those things that have to do with digital, have to do with AI, are completely changing the industry of services.
Definitely. And I totally agree. I mean, we at GridBeyond come at it from a slightly different angle. We're looking a lot at energy market data, optimization of batteries and other assets, bidding strategies, but the ability of machine learning to adapt in real time to price conditions on the grid, allows us to move so much more quickly, take advantage of sort of grid opportunities as they arise. And so I can only imagine, it's super transformative when you have the amount of sensors around, hard assets that you all are working with. Um,
Yes.
and so, those digital tools are important. How are you seeing that translate into customer, success or customer efficiency with the digital tools that you're deploying with them?
Yeah, it's game changing. It's game changing. So in our own analysis, we see that we are reducing the maintenance cost by up to 85%, and the operating cost by one third. So it's very tangible because it's data in action and with proof, with proof data, right? And in the past, when we didn't have the sensors or the AI or anything like that, uh, you could make these claims and the customers wouldn't know any better, right? And I'm saving you this, but now it's there, it's in the data, you can show it, it's real, right? And we know that, for example, in AI, the IEA estimates that just AI in the next few years is gonna be around 10% of annual savings for companies, at around 40 billion in the U.S. alone, and that's their estimation, and I think that's what we're seeing in practice, and it will get even better and better for the customer actually, and for the world, because we are making things leaner and cleaner and more efficient. Which is, by the way, it's the motto of ABB, right? We run your enterprises to be leaner and cleaner, basically more efficient, more sustainable by using electrification, by using automation, and so this era of digital and of being able to process the data, it's super exciting.
Definitely, definitely, and I'm glad you could link it back to sort of the mission of ABB and how you're helping customers on this now and as their operations evolve. In terms of those customers or sort of prospective customers that may be listening today, are there any, specific actions that you'd recommend that they take in their operations, um, that would be actionable to sort of drive the sort of efficiencies from a first step?
Well, yes, you you're looking to first of all, if I'm a customer, we tell the customers is open the door to an assessment or to an audit, and to what we call advisory in our world. It's we want to look at your situation and advise on what's going on, and then we'll be able to tell what assets can be modernized or extend their life. We'll be able to then monitor assets and then change the way we do maintenance to those assets from time maintenance or waiting until it fails to a maintenance where we can predict and actually go when it's needed, right? And but it all starts with that engagement and that holistic approach, which is, by the way, it's part of how GridBeyond also attacks these things as well, right? You have to come in. There's so many things to environment, regulatory things, technical things, putting systems together, and all that. And but it all starts with a conversation. It all starts with looking at the assets, looking at the situation, and seeing how we can help. Now we have the tools. Now we have the technology to make these things happen and to allow for more reliability, better power into the installations, but also savings, concrete savings.
Definitely, and I think you're spot on that it all starts with a conversation and understanding where folks are in their operations. It's something that GridBeyond does as well, and so we'll make sure that in the episode description, you'll find ways to reach out to ABB, reach out to GridBeyond if you do want to see that sort of advisory conversation for your business. That no obligation, obviously, but we'd love to help understand what you're doing now and where there could be improvements. And we've seen really marked uplift in terms of energy market revenues is generally where we come at this from our optimization strategies. And I'm sure ABB could also provide some of those figures on, how they would save either a customer in the same segment as someone that may be listening today, or, a concrete example for the individual facility if as you said, they're open to that audit or advisory service.
Yeah, and we love to give those examples. We have like Heineken in Mexico, and like others, where we had a long-term relationship, and we have seen this evolution of services happening from we were just waiting for the failure, they were waiting for the failure, and we were intervening, to then getting into a contract where we would go periodically and see things, to then getting into predicting and condition maintenance. And so those long-term customers, and we have, and we can provide the links, right, of those examples. We have seen that trajectory in real life with these customers, and how all the things we talk about are happening every day today.
Definitely. And I thought you touched on a really good point around moving from the sort of reactive or even wait until it fails maintenance, right? Into more predictive maintenance. What do you see as the key differences between that sort of reactive approach versus proactive on a schedule, or even that sort of predictive, AI enabled continuous looking at what maintenance could be done to ensure that operations continue on
Yeah,
unimpeded?
yeah. For a long time, service was kind of this very reactive thing where you're waiting for an emergency or for a problem to happen, and you have field service around the coverage, and you are able to react and go and do things. But studies have shown that that approach costs companies almost 10 times as doing it in a different way, which is either preventive, which in this case you say, okay, for this asset, I will come every 2 years or every 3 years, and I will check to make sure that is correct. And then you get ahead of potential problems. But sometimes if you say it's every 3 years, and then you go every 3 years and there's no change at all, the customer says, well, I'm paying for all these visits and all that, and I don't know if I should be, paying for that if nothing is really happening. And that's where technology came in. And by us able to predict and looking at the asset and actually looking at the data, and now with AI looking at the data deeply, be able to say, actually it's not 3 years. In this asset, we need to come next week because we see something. But in this asset, don't worry, it's not 3 years. I think we can come in 4 or 5 years. We don't see any trend that it's a problem. And that translates into value for the customer, right? It's going to be really, really when needed, as needed. And now people say, oh, well, that's bad for the provider because now it's only when it's needed. But the reality is that you are serving the customer better, and then you're able to do more things and bring more value to the customer. So you don't want to hang on to things that are unnecessary to the customer. You want to provide the precise value. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Definitely. And, I'm curious, right? You're probably rolling less trucks because you have the predictive tools to say this asset may need this, but this asset doesn't. How does this affect, right? This being, I guess, the shift towards more predictive, service models. How does that change how your service teams operate on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it's very interesting. In the past, imagine almost like a fire station, that they will be kind of waiting for the emergency, just chatting there, and now suddenly, they will be waiting, or there will be, okay, we are scheduled to go to this part on Friday, right? And then on Friday you take your truck and you go there. Now with this, you start your morning by saying, okay, this is my dashboard, my predictive dashboard. Okay, let's look at customers. Let's look at assets. Okay, we see this, and we're gonna have to go here, and so it becomes much more dynamic, much more customer centric in a sense, because you're looking at things in real time, and you're seeing what you need to do, and that also then creates efficiencies because now you're able to do more with less because you know what's happening and what's going on. Then you have also augmented reality, right? Where maybe you're looking at the predictive dashboards and you're looking at what you need to do and all that, and then you realize, well, I have a field engineer close to that site or in that city or maybe far along. Send them with the augmented reality and where's the expert? Oh, the expert is in Florida and this is in Oregon. Okay, let's put the augmented reality and let's work on the topic with the full expertise without having to send the guy from Florida to Oregon, right? So it becomes more efficient for everybody, and it democratizes the expertise as well, right? As people start to retire, and it's no secret that the labor force is that knowledge starting to retire and is less and less, and you have to now bring technology to make sure that you can cover everything. And yeah, we call it the democratization of expertise, right? We'll be able to, in Oregon, we'll give you the best expertise possible by having the augmented reality there. So it really changes the day to day for the field service. It makes it more fun too. I think uh, people will be more attracted to come join field service. We were having a little issue with people saying, "No, I don't want to do that. You know, it's a lot of travel and." But now it's suddenly there's digital tools, there's predictive, there's augmented reality. It can attract the new generations as well.
Definitely. I think it makes it much more exciting, makes it, sort of a better employee experience, right? If you can tap into expertise without having to fly across the country and, be on a customer site to provide that expertise.
Right, right, right.
And you talked a lot about things that are working. Something that I always think is great to highlight is potential pitfalls, right? If you're a customer thinking about these sort of digital transformations, um, what are pitfalls to look out for, or what have you seen sort of not work as well as it should when looking at digital transformation?
Yeah, it's one is, and we are a technology company, right? So the classic one is the technology is there, and we're engineers. We get excited about it, and then you just go and say, okay, let's launch or let's do it without looking at the processes, without looking at the whole, holistically to, okay, yeah, it's a great technology. Let's say we have some predictive thing, but you need to look at the asset. Is the protocol the same? Can you extract the data properly? And what kind of processing at the edge do you need or in the cloud? Do you have the people at the centralized location that are also looking at this? You have to look at all that. I mean, not just the technology, but when you're a technology company, you get super excited about the innovation and you just want to go and do it. And so you have to be careful to take a breather and make sure that everything around it in terms of processes is happening. The other thing is when it comes to predictive, you get used to some historical trends, historical data, and but the world is changing very fast. Even these facilities, data centers or plants, with all the digitization and all that, what you thought was a historical trend, it may not even be the case anymore. So now you have to not just say, well, that when that breaker is in yellow because of these historical conditions, that means you do this. Not necessarily anymore, right? So you have to then go back and challenge yourself and say, well, does that apply anymore? And that's where monitoring real time kind of come in. The other thing which is related to technology is you get so excited that you just launch things and and it's very advisable, even though it's going to take a little more time, pilot it, because most likely when technology hits the real world, something will happen that you didn't anticipate. It always happens. It happens throughout my career in hardware, in services. You think you got it, then you go into the real world, and it's like sports, right? You may have your plan, but once you hit, or in boxing, right? Once you get the first hit, your whole plan goes out of the window, right? So same thing here. Pilot and find the flaws or find the things that you need to correct.
Definitely, and I couldn't agree more, especially on the piloting phase. GridBeyond, we often do trials with customers, right? Let us shadow trade your best asset, say in the ERCOT market, and let us show you what we would do differently rather than just say, trust us, right? And so I think having that pilot phase is so important to build buy-in internally, and really showcase, how the changing historical trends, the sort of changing, digital infrastructure can contribute to success on a larger scale before jumping right in, maybe not recognizing all of the human processes and the organizational processes that go around any sort of
Right.
major digital transformation like that.
All right. And it's something that we enjoy with Grid Beyond, that we have the same philosophy there. And we probably have the scars and we had to learn. And we both have learned. So it's very good to do this. And I recommend it to anybody watching the podcast. Don't get overexcited, just pilot it and you will learn a lot.
Definitely, definitely. And so, you mentioned a lot of the ways that we're collaborating between ABB and GridBeyond. One of the ways that I'm most excited about is this BESS as a service model, battery energy storage system as a service model. So for folks that aren't, involved in that or aware of that offering, could you explain what BESS as a service means and sort of what kinds of businesses most benefit from this service?
Yeah. Maybe I would start with, as we are electrifying the world, um, one of the ways in which you can ensure that the power is always there, or that is clean, is by energy storage. The breakthrough of lithium ion batteries, for example, and in battery technology, suddenly allows to look at power as something that we can catch, collect, and then use appropriately when needed, either to back up something, or to pick shape something like we do with Beyond, or simply to have a more stable power. So once the cost of the batteries go up to a certain point, and this, it was feasible to start to do it at scale, suddenly the market took off. So batteries in North America, we are expected to see grow from 17 million. We see the market at 17 billion, and I think Grid Beyond, probably you guys have a similar number, 17 million in 2025, going to like 35 billion, just for the batteries that are being installed around the country. So you have this storage, right? And one of the barriers for entry for a data center, or a plant, or a commercial building, has been, it can be 5-10 million to put those big batteries that are able to receive different sources, and where you can kind of control the power you give, when and how, and all that. It's a big capital investment. So even though people may agree, yes, I need that, I want to do that, they look at the 5-10 million, they go like, eh, are there any other ways internally of doing redundancy, or what can we do instead? So what we're doing with battery as a base, with Grid Beyond partnership as well, is saying, no, we're actually gonna do battery as a service. So we're gonna give you energy storage as a subscription. So let's say, here's your subscription. You don't have to worry about the big batteries that are gonna be installed. You don't have to worry about maintaining that. You don't have to worry about operating any of that. We're just gonna guarantee that you're gonna receive the power that you need. And not only the power that you need, there are ways with Grid Beyond software, and where we can also pick shape, and give, sell power back, or get incentives, clean up the power, all that software, all that availability, to not only make sure that you get this in your subscription, but you're actually getting paid sometimes, and you're getting things. So it's a complete change of mind frame, of value proposition. And by the way, this as a service is not only for batteries; it's a training the industry of paying a subscription, and getting what you need. And you don't have to own the things; you don't have to invest in big things. And technology, once again, is what allows us to do this. The AI that you guys use in your software, and that we use in also in our side of the equation, the AI, the sensors, the digital, it all comes into play. So we're very excited about this battery as a service, and energy storage, and how this grows and supports electrification. And we're now seeing it everywhere. We see it in data centers, where, by the way, data centers are 4% of electricity used today. We're estimating that's going to go to 12%. The boom of AI is backed up by data centers, and that's one segment where we use it. We are also looking manufacturing and industrial, where you have the opportunities to pick shape, to look at demand, and to look at revenues, and control the power that you give, and also take advantage of that. And we're also seeing it in commercial buildings that may be looking at sustainability goals, and we can call with energy storage, with renewables, and help achieve the carbon reduction and the sustainability goals. So we are seeing it everywhere. This $35 billion of batteries that are going to be around, they're going to be everywhere. And so it's a great place to be, and great place for GridBeyond as well, and for our partnership.
Definitely. No, and we're, so excited to roll this out. So I cover a lot of front of the meter customers. We have a behind the meter battery team. We have a behind the meter demand response team as well. And one thing that I'm seeing from the front of the meter battery space, where we support over a gigawatt in the US, is the interconnection queues to actually get front of the meter grid, utility scale projects online is a very long time now, right? Some projects are looking at, even if they start now, they're going to be online by 2030. And one of the things that I'm most excited about this BESS as a service model is that putting the batteries on industrial sites, or on large power users, provides a, quicker path to market. And so we're seeing front of the meter developers of batteries become very interested in the industrial behind the meter battery space, because these batteries can get interconnected much more quickly. They support, the industrial site, but they also support the grid behind the meter. And so, very similar to the front of the meter, we're doing energy arbitrage. We're often providing ancillary services to the grid. And then on top of that, we're doing the peak shaving that you mentioned, and we're supporting the resiliency of the site. And so having that large behind the meter battery segment, I think is just such an exciting space, and we're very excited to work on it with ABB as well, and roll this out to commercial and industrial facilities around the country and around the world.
That's right.
Uh,
Absolutely. It's a very exciting time.
Definitely. And one of the other pieces that I think we're thinking about for this offering, but obviously for a lot of the offerings at ABB Electrification, is around data centers, right? And so you brought up the explosive growth that we're expected to see in data centers. They're obviously very energy intensive. They're also, sort of critical to a lot of the, broader economic trends and national security trends in the US. And I'm curious, how are data centers specifically managed today? How is that changing potentially, and how are you supporting them from an electrification service perspective?
Yeah, it's a very interesting segment, and the highest growing segment, I think, for everybody in the industry, because all that data needs to be processed somewhere. The data for AI and the data for that we're using to manage everything goes to data center, right? So it's growing very fast. But also the architecture of the data center is changing, because with AI now you have more dense servers. You have racks where you used to have 10 kilowatts to 30 kilowatts. Now they're going to be 100 kilowatts, and some people say even 1 megawatt in a rack. So then it gets hot, it gets dense, it changes the whole architecture of the place. It's not as easy to maintain, or you have to maintain it and operate it in a different manner. And 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 and, and so you have that change in the architecture of things, and then you have a change in the grid as well, and the reliability of the grid, or the lack of reliability, and the need to use energy storage to then feed this, because it's mission critical, right? The data center, the data has to flow. Whatever happens in the grid or even inside, you have to have the backup, the redundancies, the batteries, all that working well. So that changes how we service things. That changes how we operate things, and that's where we come in. And the data center is very interesting. When we look at the demand growing exponentially, we're going from like 58 terawatts in 2014 in the US to like 500 terawatts in just in 2028. So it's you see these data centers being built by in remote areas close to rivers, because you have to cool it, you have to maintain those things. We see the grid infrastructure as the constraint. We have in the US, we have an old grid. It's very unreliable, and this is where these batteries comes in. This is where we're having to kind of make up for that unreliability to feed these data centers is super important, and the resilience of the power coming to this place is super important, and where BESS comes in, talking about BESS again. So it's a revolutionary thing what's happening in the data center, and it affects how we do things, how we think about things, the partnerships we have, like the one we have, and with other companies as well, because it's not an easy thing. Once you see the whole thing changing so fast and how you need to tackle it, you need players to come together and work together to service it. So yeah, big growth, big growth.
Definitely, definitely. And, I'm sure for data centers as well as other customers, there's a lot of drivers. There's resiliency, there's cost savings, but there's also sustainability. And I guess I'm curious, how is this push for sustainability influencing service models that you see at ABB Electrification?
Yeah, we see. First of all, we see the asking for retrofit and upgrade, and you have to change everything new all the time, especially with how fast things are changing. So we're getting retrofit, so modernizing things. We are able to modernize things, extend the life. If you top breakers, for example, you can extend it for 20 years, and whatever is happening around technologically, you can have the power going through breakers that are not going to fail and that are doing well. So retrofit and modernization, and then you have on decarbonization, or the move toward things being more efficient and using the right kind of resources. The digitization that goes on top of that, the predictive that we talked about, the data driven prediction models, and all that, that allows us to also quantify how we are decarbonizing, and how we're going better for efficiency and for the environment and for the carbonization goals. So for the companies that say we have this target to accomplish in terms of carbonization and energy, we have now the tools to do that, to accomplish that, extending life and also managing things better, predictive, and all that. For the companies that maybe are looking more for circular economy and making sure that things are more efficient, we can save money, and we can make sure that we are wasting the least, and all this technology allows for that.
Definitely. And, Pedro, I guess, we're really appreciate the expertise, you've shared today. I'm curious, beyond sustainability, beyond what we've talked about so far, what other advancements or shifts do you see on the horizon that you're excited about in the electrification infrastructure space?
Yeah, definitely, and I think everybody's talking about this, but AI, it's in diapers. We cannot, even the people that are in the middle of all that, they themselves don't know exactly how far, how wide, and how this might transform anything. So for us, it's the AI that we're using today to get those patterns, and make recommendations on predicting and changing things. It becomes a real time data driven decision, with decisions probably instantaneously, and so it becomes super dynamic. And now imagine that at scale. So it's not just a facility; it can be the whole grid, it can be a whole country, and it's just mind-boggling. I cannot even imagine, but I think the efficiency that's gonna come with this, and the 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 value, it's incredible. And so AI taking scale, growing in scale, and being real time. That's one of the things. And then in the service side, we touch on that. It's not at scale at this point, but the augmented reality stuff, and the ability to remotely do a lot of these things and act on things and remotely, whether it's a person with augmented reality or with the systems now being real time reacting, you'll be able to do digital services, right, and remote services and react much quicker. So it's what's going to happen is we have a hint today as we are doing it and as we are growing with this with ABB and GridBeyond and other partners. We're starting to do it, but in 10 years we cannot even imagine how these things, we know the direction, right? Now it's going to be at scale. So yeah.
Definitely. No, and it's super exciting, decade ahead in the growth of this technology, the sort of predictive capabilities and sort of the effects that that'll have on streamlining operational paradigms, as well as on tracking those. And, I thought you brought up a great point earlier around you don't have to just say, trust us, we saved you this much with all of this data. Now we can put numbers behind that and say we did X and it saved you Y. And we're doing that on the energy market side as well. That sort of mark to market reporting, and we're really excited about that. And then the other piece that I'm excited about is there's the technology evolution and innovation happening, and then these as a service business models as well. I think that the sort of business innovation there really provides access to resources like BESS or to technology types that weren't maybe accessible if you needed to outlay $10 million on a capex on a project, right? And so having these business innovations really democratizes the access to these clean energy resources, and I'm so excited to see how that evolves over the next 10 years as well. And excited for the partnership that we can bring together to hopefully bring that to more and more commercial and industrial facilities.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. As a service, so it's like the convergence of technology, the business model of as a service, and then AI on top of that, kind of accelerating that. It's I think for customers, it's unbelievable. For the journey of sustainability and electrification, it is perfect. It's getting into a super highway now, and about time. And for us in the industry, it's the best time to be in.
Definitely. No, exciting times ahead. And Pedro, thanks so much for sharing your expertise today. I'm sure listeners got a lot out of the transformation of service models, transformation of technologies that ABB Electrification is doing. Um, I'll just mention we do have a partnership around BESS as a service as well as other services. So if you're listening today and want to learn more about how ABB Electrification, Grid Beyond, or the combined BESS as a service offering could help your business, we'll put links in the episode notes to make sure that you have the ability to start those conversations with our advisory teams to see if we can help you in the future with these sort of technologies and business model innovations. So, Pedro, thanks again for your time, and we look forward to the future collaboration between the companies.
Absolutely. Thank you. I enjoyed it. And I for anybody listening to this, watching this, go to the links. There's a lot more behind this, and there's proof points and and see you in the journey of electrification.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you on the superhighway, Pedro.
Yes.
Take care, and thanks everyone for listening. Hope you have a great day.